Good evening, everyone. JJ here. Just give everybody a little update on how I'm doing with the FloraFlex and different options that I'm testing out that are available to me. This is pretty much everything FloraFlex has, minus some of the stackers. I have those in a box, but I wasn't a big fan of those. They did not fit on these. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start you off with the 4 inches. Now the 4 inches have a few options. They have these caps, or these ones here, and they have these caps. Both of these caps will both fit onto a 4-inch rock wool cube, like so. And these are the micro drippers. This hooks up to, this is one line. It's already got a regulator on it, and this pops right in. So this would be your trunk line here. All right. Or you can use the drippers, like these here. So essentially you'll have your manifold with 8 lines coming off it, and 1 to each pot. Each one is split off into 2 things. So you just kind of clip it on each side, adjust it. You want these at least 10 to 12 inches. I made that mistake the first time, cut them to 6. So now with these, you can get, I think, 3 feet or 4 feet hose for the micro drippers. So, but rock wool, cocoa, or you can do soil. Now, one thing I did add that FloraFlex doesn't do, but I had an issue with fungus gnats getting into the soil in the medium. So what I did was I cut out these. These are landscaper paper, stuff you put down on the grass to let the water through, but it'll keep the weeds and stuff from coming out. What I do is, see, that's empty. I would drop one on the bottom here, put the rock wool in, or the cocoa, fill that up with water that expands, put this on top. I'll cut a little slit in it, and it'll essentially end up like so. And one thing I do add to their cocoa is I add a little bit of perlite on the top of it before I fill it up with water. That way it kind of mixes in, gives it a little bit more drainage. Now, 4 inches are good for clones, established clones or whatnot. You can use the if you're planning on dropping these, like I plan on using these to drop into a undercurrent system. So I take the clone, put it in here, let that go for a little bit, grow it here until the undercurrent system's ready to go. Now, moving on to, one more thing. These caps, the 2 caps that they offer for the 4-inch fit on both the rock wool cubes and the Flora pots. So these literally just clip right in. There you go. Those are all clipped in, ready to go. Now, next would be the 6-inch. I made a little bit mistake. The 6-inch offers 3 options, but all 3 options can be used with rock wool cubes. 2 options can only be used with the FloraFlex. Now, they have this one, Flora cap. They have this one. They fit in there nice and snug. So this is a Flora cap 2.0. The 2.0 uses micro drippers. So micro drippers drop right in, keeps everything nice and straight. These are the only 2 that you can use with the 6-inch pots. Now, these ones here can only be used for rock wool cubes. So all 3 can be used for the cubes. This is the only one that can't be used for the pots. Essentially what this is it drops right on top of the Rockwell cube. I don't have one to display here. And then these plungers pop in. These are the short rocket plungers, I believe. So what happens, just pop right out, cover your plant, pop these in. Once they're popped in, these hook right up to this tubing. So you go straight from your manifold through the tubing into these. Now if you're doing this setup, also through the manifold. The micro tubing though, you do not use the manifold. You use a main line, or sorry, a trunk line, like so. This is not a FloraFlex connector. This is, they're back ordered on the T's, so until I get that, I'm going to be using these. A little different. But moving on, we've got the 8-inch. Now the 8-inch only uses these drain caps. So that's your only option for the 8-inch, unless you decide to cover the material with the landscaper top. You lay it on, you cut it so it goes around the stem, so it's essentially about the same size as this here. Drops in, and you can use 2 of the rocket drippers. These rocket drippers will fit right in, and you'll be good to go. Now they do have what's called a Flora stacker. Essentially, it's a cap, but I was under the impression that it would go onto the Flora pots, so you could, say, stack a 4-inch on top of a 6-inch, or so on and so forth, but it's designed for Rockwell cubes to stack on top of the next Rockwell cubes. But that's not how I plan on doing things, so I'm not going to do that. I'm actually going to be sending them back. I thought those stacked on these. And over here we got the nutrients. I picked up a pound of each, the V1, V2, B1, B2. I've been using 2 grams per gallon of each nutrient for feeding. I just stick to that. For the clones, I used 1 gram per gallon of the V1, V2. Now, one thing I noticed when connecting these corner pieces is, let's see, where did my tape measure go? Here we go. So I needed 21 inches. It was going into a 2x4. So it was 21 from, like, whatever, there to there. But I need to figure out how much I need to cut. So essentially from here, from the corner of this to where the tubing comes in, is 1.5 inches. So you got 2 of these, 1 on each corner, that's 3 inches. So say you needed 21 inches, you would cut your tubing to 18 inches. So that 18 plus 1.5 plus 1.5 would get you to the 21. Just a little way I figured out how to do it, and let's see, I'll put one together for you. So now when you're assembling it, to make things easier, you need to have this on. So that needs to slide on because you're not going to be able to get it on after the fact. Now, push this right in and give it a nice twist. I don't pop any of the holes until after I get everything laid out. Now, this is just another, it's like a sealer. It's a gasket that goes on. You can either slide it on ahead of time, or you can put it on after the fact. This can get on over the tube. This comes down. Tightens it up. There you go. So, and this is their little hole puncher. So what I did was I laid everything flat. I came around. This already has some holes in it, but I'm just gonna, so I laid everything down flat. There we go. Pop the little hole in the top. Now, I'm pretty sure that these holes keep filling up the punch hole thing. So I don't think anything's getting in there. Plus it's going through the micro drippers. I can't see it clogging this up. I can see it maybe clogging up the manifold. So, but some of the other things, the attachments they have is, you know, if you're not using, so say you're using the rocket drippers, these have their own reducer. Each one has their own reducer. So you can leave this wide open. You don't have to put a reducer into this. The reducer into this is only when you're using these, when you're trying to keep it at a certain amount. And a good way to see how much water you're getting per thing, if all your lines are the same, is take a solo cup and run your system and see how long it takes to fill up the solo cup, and or a bigger glass if you're using bigger pots, and base your timing on that. So this is the manifold. You can adjust it on, off. I like that. And then they give you two options when you buy it. I've gotten a few of each. So all this is just a quick connect, and that just allows you to tie in. Same with this if it's in the middle of the line. Now what I did do is, because this is also part of the trunk line tubing, so this would be an end piece where you can cap it, or what I did was I made a T that came off the end. So I did a T, I came down here, and then I added this. This is the base of the top here, or the top piece of the manifold. And what I did was I got a riser coming off my pump. This is a quick connect, so it's just in a 5-gallon pail. So if I need to take that pail, move it somewhere, clean it out, I don't have to disconnect my entire system. I just remove this piece and everything is now modular. So, but I did, I'm going to be trying these things out here shortly. I got everything all set up. I'm just waiting for one more order from FloraFlex to get everything going. But yeah, 8 manifolds, 8 items. So you can have 8 of these, 8 of these, 8 of these. Or if you're doing this system, it's all based on the volume and pump that you're using, depending on how many of these you want to feed. So, and these also have restrictors on them. So I think this is a 1 GPH, and I figure 1 GPH is probably your best bet when trying to figure out your numbers and everything. So I just went with that. And the landscaper tape, or landscaper tarp paper, I got, I just bought a huge roll of it and cut out cubes. So I got some for the top of the 4-inch, some for the bottom of the 4-inch, and I haven't had any issues with fungus gnats or anything in those areas. So I'm happy with that. I saw somebody else that did it. Guy I follow on Instagram put sand at the top, which I've heard is a good way to keep the fungus gnats away, but I never got around to it, so I didn't do it. But this is going to be my next project. I'm going to be using the 6-inch with the micro drippers. So this is the whole unit. When they mail them to you, it comes like this. I believe this is a 1/2 or a 1 gallon per hour dripper. So these will go right to the sides, and it'll be feeding that way. And like I said, before you hook these up to the plants, I put one of these into a solo cup just to see how much fluid you're getting out of it and volume. That way you can adjust your time up or down from there. And because your plants might be needing more or less at whatever given time. Some things I used. So this is just the pipe cutter. Use this for cutting the pipe. It makes it a lot easier, clean cuts, or just a regular old knife. And this comes in a giant roll, so everything's kind of bent. The way to get around that is just with a heat gun. Just slowly go over it with the heat gun and straighten it out. And this is just a cheap Wagner one that I got at either Home Depot or Lowe's. Does the job, so I'm happy with it. But as you can see, like this is kind of bending. You want these all straight, like so. And the way to do that is to heat them up, and they're pretty rigid, but they're bendable. So you should be not having any problem with doing that. And this stuff's pretty good. I got extra because I knew it'd be screwing up. And I got 2 full rolls of these so I can readjust my system, throw stuff out, clean stuff. I think the first time I'm just gonna throw everything away that I used first time and start fresh with new systems, new caps, new pots. I've got the 4-inch cocoa filler ups, the 8-inch. I needed the 6-inch. I just got that with the shipment. And I'm looking forward to getting it done. Questions, comments, concerns, leave them below. If you like the video, hit the like button. Look forward to hearing from you. Thank you.